G'day everybody. Today's video, I thought I'd just compare the traffic lights in Cities Skylines 2 to those that existed back in Cities Skylines 1 and with the mods we had for Cities Skylines 1. At a four-way intersection, in Cities Skylines 1 the vanilla traffic light has a simple two-phase layout with permissive left turns. A permissive left turn, which we call a filter turn here in Australia, means that the vehicles performing a turn should wait for a gap in conflicting traffic before proceeding. You create one of these vanilla traffic lights by going to the traffic routes view, clicking on the junctions, and then toggling the traffic light on the intersection. In action, you can see that left-turning vehicles are not particularly good at yielding or giving way to the oncoming through traffic. They tend to take gaps that are way too small and slow down the through traffic. Or, fortunately, they just phase straight through them in many cases. Luckily, there's no traffic accidents in this game. Unfortunately, what that means is if there's a lot of left-turning vehicles, they can really disrupt the entire intersection's traffic throughput. Therefore, you don't really want to use this traffic light when you have more than a few left-turning vehicles per cycle. Nonetheless, this two-phase setup in vanilla is totally suitable when there's only two conflicting movements, like at a half-diamond interchange, or a one-way grid network. Before we look at Cities Skylines 2, I just want to mention that if you do have mods for Cities Skylines 1, you can go into the settings for Traffic Manager and enable the Vehicles Follow Priority Rules at Junctions with Timed Traffic Lights option. One of the priority rules they'll follow is that left-turning vehicles will wait in their turning lane until there is a gap in the opposing through traffic. This drastically improves the yielding behavior compared to the vanilla traffic light, even with exactly the same setup. You can also use this mod to adjust the durations of each stage so that the through traffic can fully clear and give a few gaps for the left-turning traffic to filter through. Cities Skylines 2 also uses the same style of traffic light as Cities Skylines 1. In Cities Skylines 2, to enable a traffic light, you have to actually unlock the Advanced Road Services progression, and that will allow you then to go into the Road tool and enable or disable the traffic lights. The traffic lights can also be automatically enabled in some intersections. The traffic lights in Cities Skylines 2 work much the same way as those in the predecessor, but the yielding behavior is better. They're much better at waiting for a gap, but where they actually choose to wait on the intersection leaves something to be desired. Which just goes to show you don't really want multiple lanes of through traffic whenever you're using this traffic light setup. I also wouldn't recommend using this kind of traffic light if you have high speed through traffic, or if there's high levels of pedestrians, or if you have so many left turns that you need more than one left turn lane. Fortunately, in CS2, you can ban left turns without the use of mods, which means if you have a particularly problematic left turning movement that's simply overwhelming a traffic light, you can start to use some other strategies where you reroute that left turn through some other part of the traffic network or some other traffic light, enabling higher throughput at the traffic light. Banning the left turns will allow for the so-called unconventional arterial intersection designs, such as the median U-turn, the quadrant roadway, the bow tie, and various types of jug handles, to work fairly well in Cities Skylines 2. The well-known Traffic Manager Present Edition mod for CS1 essentially allows you to create any traffic light you can think of. But it also has default traffic lights in the form of quick setups, which allows you to create a traffic light with a single click. The first configuration has full directional separation, or split phasing, on all approaches to the intersection, rotating around the intersection in a clockwise direction, along with right turn overlaps on each phase. You can create these TMP quick setup lights by going to the Time Traffic Lights menu, holding Control and clicking on the intersection. Because this configuration really benefits from a right turn lane, if you have only two lanes at the intersection, it will adjust the lane arrows to ensure that one lane is a dedicated right turn lane. Because each approach to the intersection gets its own step, this is a really useful traffic light setup when the volumes of opposing approaches are very imbalanced, and when turning volumes exceed the through traffic volumes for most of the time. It also enables the left turn movements to be using a lane that is shared with the through movements and the right turn movements, which is useful if you only have one or two lanes at an intersection. However, You really need to be sure that with these quick setups that you change the timings, because as you can see here, there's a lot of wasted time at this intersection waiting for some of those approaches that have very little traffic volume. And that could be better utilized by giving some more of that intersection time to the heavier approaches on the arterial that is going around the corner here at this intersection. Because these two arterial roads terminate at right angles to one another, with two minor roads on the other approaches, the majority of the traffic is making a left or a right turn, and you can really see the benefit of having these right turn overlaps, but you have to make sure that you have right turning lanes in order to actually really utilize those. The lesser known alternative quick setup configuration instead assigns a green light to opposing through movements and then gives a green light simultaneously to the two opposing left turns. This is called a simultaneous or concurrent left turn, or in Australia we call it a diamond turn. You create the alternative quick setup by holding down Ctrl and Alt when clicking on the intersection. TMP is smart enough that assigning this configuration to a network with only two lanes will make the innermost lane a left turn only lane. With this setup, you really need to have that exclusive left turn lane, because the left turning vehicles are going to have to sit out and wait for their phase while the through traffic goes. And if you don't have that left turning lane, the left turning traffic is just going to be blocking the through traffic. This configuration is superior when most vehicles are going straight ahead rather than turning at the intersection. In both real life and the game, this traffic tends to dominate at most intersections, so I tend to use this configuration more often than the default quick setup, which is better for high levels of turning traffic. The single biggest change you can make for this one is, of course, to increase the timings on the through phase. So far I've only been talking about four-way intersections, but what about three-way intersections? Well, if you have two roads intersecting at a T-shape, in both vanilla Cities Skylines 1 and Cities Skylines 2, you get a two-phase light with a permissive left turn. And for TMPE, there is only one quick setup configuration giving a three-phase setup with protected left turns. When you have three roads that intersect in a Y-shape, there's no obvious direction for through traffic. You actually get a three-stage light in vanilla for both Cities Skylines 1 and Cities Skylines 2, with the order of the phases following the order you constructed the roads. In contrast, for TMPE, the order of the stages appears to be fixed by what side of the road the vehicles are driving on, presumably to facilitate the right turn overlap. This means that in Cities Skylines 1 and in Cities Skylines 2, if you're having a lot of trouble with left turn traffic off the main road at a T intersection, you could potentially alter the intersection geometry, and that would actually change how the traffic light is going to function, which could be useful at ensuring that those left turns don't actually block up the opposing through traffic. In summary then, in most cases the key thing to look for is the ratio of left turning to through traffic. With low levels of left turns, a vanilla style two-phase traffic light can work quite well. But if you have really high levels of left turns, then the first TMP quick setup can work well. And for most intersections you're somewhere in between, with moderate left turns, and so in that case you may need to use the alternative quick setup. You may be wondering what happens in the case when you have a busy main road intersecting with side streets, in which case most of the traffic along the main road is through traffic, but most of the traffic from the side streets is turning traffic. You just have to manually create a hybrid of the two quick setups that we've seen today. In this hybrid case, on the main road, you'll have a step for through traffic and then simultaneous left turns, but on the side street you'll use split phasing, one phase for each approach. There's also one last difference between vanilla traffic lights and those in the TMP mod. Specifically, those in the mod cannot detect pedestrians, but those vanilla traffic lights can, which means for lightly used pedestrian crossings, the vanilla traffic light is actually better than those in the TMP mod. So I hope this video was useful and that you learned things. I certainly learned things while making it. Specifically, I had no idea that CS1 even did three-stage lights at Y intersections until I started making this video. Let me know in the comments if you learned something, and thanks for watching.